Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Saturday night version of Math with Audrey. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful night. As promised, today we're going to be looking at factoring. So we're looking at either the GCF and also trinomials. So we're going to try to pack all this stuff in tonight. So you definitely need to be prepared. Let's have our pencils. Let's have everything ready. Rock and roll to get some learning done. Now, as I always keep saying, excuse me, in all of my lives, there's a couple of things I would love for you guys to do. One thing, hey, you're getting a lot of information. That can help you with your current class. That can help you with future classes. So guess what? All my lives are being recorded on the YouTube channel. Go to Audrey Codner. If you just do a search Audrey Codner, it'll pop up. If you do a search ACG Math Tutoring, it'll pop up. I need subscribers, okay? I need for these numbers to get up and growing because that's one major way that you can help me out. And not have to worry about I wish I could pay Audrey. Okay, that's the one way that you can pay me. Subscribe, follow me here, and also if you get a chance, you can do a Google review. That would be amazing. All right, enough of that. Okay, so when we're looking at factoring, GCF, what a GCF is your greatest common factor. Okay, so it's the number that's not necessarily the largest in value, but it is like the largest number that they both have in common. So if I take a look at my first bit, so I want to find the GCF here. So I have 8x cubed, I have negative 4x squared, I have 6x cubed. Now, I want to know, what do they all have in common? All right. I know right off the bat, a lot of you guys will say, well, 8, 4, and 6, they're all parts of the multiple times table of 2. All right. They're all multiples of 2. But no. What? No? No. Okay. The reason why I'm saying no is because this 4 has a negative. Okay. The other 2 does not have a negative. So because that negative is there, all right, it's throwing everything off. So numbers wise, the 8, the negative 4, and the 6, they don't have anything in common. Hello, hello. All right. We don't have anything. We just got started. All right. So we don't have anything in common for the numbers, the coefficients, because of that negative sign. Now, if all of them had a negative, yes, you can pull out a negative 2. But in this case, numbers-wise, we don't have anything in common. But they do have something else in common. They have x's. So there's an x cubed here, an x squared there, and an x cubed there. Now, they all have x's. If you want to think, x cubed is x times x times x. X squared is x times x, and I just said what x cubed was. So they all have at least 2 x's in common. So let me take it over here for a second. So if I know x cubed is x times x times x, right? And x squared is x times x, we want to know how many of those said x's, oops, got the wrong highlighter out, do they have in common? They have 2 groups or 2 sets of x's in common, right? All right, so it's not just going to be my GCF for all 3 of these. It's not just going to be x, but it's actually going to be x squared. Here's the secret. Ready? If all of them have x's with an exponent, always pick the lowest exponent. It works every time, right? So even if I said, let me put this over here. Even if I said x to the 5th, and this was x squared, and this was x, and this was x to the 6th, what is my lowest exponent? Okay, thanks, Craig. Good job. Hey, Ann, how are you? Yes. Oh, that's cool. Yes. Is it Kiko Lopez? Is that how you pronounce your name? First name? Kiko? All right, yes. All right, so Kiko, yes. If you don't see an exponent, remember, we always assume that it is a 1. So my lowest exponent is going to be x to the first power, or just simply x. Okay, so that's how you do it. But all of the terms, if I come back here, all of the terms must have an association with an x in order for you to do that. Okay, so if there was an 8x cubed and they didn't have the x squared here, guess what? They wouldn't have anything in common. There wouldn't be a GCF. All right. Okay. So now let's take it in a way that you're going to see it either as I like to call naked math, or you'll see it like as an assessment. So if let's do our first example. So our first example, we have 5x plus 20. Okay, so 5x plus 20. Oh, for the last one, it's not going to be 2. So Kiko, the reason why it's not 2, because that 4 is a negative 4. Okay, unless they all have a negative, then you can say a negative 2x squared. But because that 4 has a negative, you won't be able to do that. Okay. I just took my STAR test on Thursday. It was on Algebra. Okay. How'd you think you did? Who's this? Motivation? Notification. Yes. Okay. You can still factor it, not with the negative. I'm telling you, not with a negative. When you're doing individual terms like this, you will get it wrong every time. Trust me. You will get it wrong every time. Okay? All right? But if it was an expression, we can factor out a negative because we have a plus sign or a minus sign in between the two terms. But because up here, we don't have a plus sign or a minus sign. We have 3 separate expressions. These are not considered terms. They're considered terms when you have a plus or minus in between. So it's almost like we're looking at it as 3 separate expressions. Okay, so that's why it's not going to be a negative 2x squared. And I don't have my other highlighter because it's dried up. I have to get some more highlighters. Okay, all right, cool. All right, so like most of you guys are saying, I'm seeing a couple of people saying, I don't know who's saying this, 2x squared. Okay, it's okay, Kathy. We just got started. Okay. All right, so I'm going to repeat again that this, for the first part, we had 8x cubed. Let me zoom in a little bit. So we had 8x cubed, negative 4x squared, and 6x cubed. I know for sure a lot of you guys are saying, oh, there's 2 in common. No. The reason why we have a negative sign with that 4. Okay. So we have that negative sign with the 4. These are 3 separate expressions. They're not terms. Now, if it was a term like this example that we have here with the 5x plus 20, if I wanted to factor out a negative, I can do that because I got this plus sign here. But up here, I do not. They're like 3 separate expressions, and I'm trying to see what they have in common. But considering that this 4 has a negative, you don't have anything in common with the coefficients. But with the x's, you do, because the lowest exponent is to the second power. Okay, so we're good now? Yes, AG. Thank you. I know I keep repeating myself. You know why? Because people keep coming in and coming out. So this is how I do things. Welcome, Lake Life. All right. So we have 5x plus 20. So what do they have in common? They have just the 5. So this is going to be your GCF. So what you do to see what remains, and what remains is going inside the parenthesis, is you're going to take your original and divide it by your GCF. So if I do 5x divided by 5, that will give me x. Bring the plus sign. And then 20 divided by 5 will give me 4. So this will be your two factors that you can use to multiply to get your 5x plus 20. Okay. All right, so we're going step by step. Yes. Thank you, doctor. That comma are the key. Thank you. All right. Let's try another one. So we have 8x minus 4x squared. 8x minus 4x squared. First off, what would be your GCF? Hey Ryan, welcome in. Okay, so AG is saying 2x, Delilah, hey. Is saying 4x, Pog, hey Pog, 4x. Okay, we're back to 4x. Maya's saying 4. Hey Janice, how are you? We got x and 4, we got 4x, we got a negative 4. All right, so, good. So we got 4x. All right, so let's take a look. If we factor out, we can take this one of two ways, because Billiam gave us a little notion. So if we factor out 4x, what's left inside the parenthesis? If we factor out a 4x, what will be left inside of the parenthesis? Okay, so I got a 2x minus 1, a 2 minus x, a x plus 2. I have a 2 minus x, 2 minus x, 2 minus x. Calling 4x a GCF isn't technically correct, by the way. Okay, questioning turtle. So we have the 2 minus x. We have the 2 minus x question mark. All right. Because if we take our original and we divide it by the 4x, so 8x divided by 4x, yes, that will give me 2. Because when you divide, what do you do with the exponents? Because we don't see an exponent, but we assume that a 1 is there. So when we divide, what do we do with the exponents? Good. Thank you, user. Yes. 679909, all that. Yes. So when we divide, we're subtracting these exponents. So 1 minus 1 will give me 0. Okay? And x to the 0 power equals 1. And if I divide that 8 divided by 4, that gives me 2. And 2 times the 1 that we got from the x's will still give me 2. All right? Now, we have a negative. So 4 divided by 4 gives me 1. Okay. There was 2 x's originally because x squared is the same as saying x times x. So if you say, all right, you got 2 x's here, we pulled one of those x's out, so that means 1x remains inside. Okay? So a lot of people said the 2 minus 1x, perfect. If you say 2 minus x, perfect. Because remember, that's exactly the same thing. Okay? Now, it could stay this way, or some people like to switch it around. So if I switched it around, it would have been a negative 4x squared plus 8x. This minus sign is attached to this 4. Okay? The 8, remember, the signage of numbers are always to the left of the number. So there's not a minus sign in front of that 8. There's nothing there. So that means it's positive. That's how I was able to get this plus sign here. All right. So if we were to take it this way, we could say my GCF is actually going to be a negative 4x. And the reason why it's different, because we got that plus sign. We got a signage in between the two, because now these are terms. They're not expressions. They're 2 terms. So if we factor out a negative 4x, we can have 1x, or just x. So now we have a positive 8x divided by a negative 4x. Positive divided by a negative gives me a negative. And 8x divided by 4x will give me simply 2. Okay. So it will depend, and I hate to say it, that's why I got the word or in between. It will depend on how it's instructed. Because some people in some districts will say you should switch it and put it in descending order. Some people will say you can just leave it as is and just factor your GCF. I hate to say it, it all depends on your district. I know. I know. So that's why I like to show it both ways. Okay? All right. Ben, typically the x to the 1 is known. Yes. Thank you, Ben. Okay. All right. Okay. So now let's do 2 more, and then we'll see if we can get ourselves into some trinomials. All right. So let me go with this next example. So we have 12AB plus 32B. Okay. Hey, Kim. How are you? Oh, thank you, Maya, for following. I appreciate that. All right. So give this one a try. 12AB plus 32B. Now, can 12 go into 32 evenly? Okay, Nicole, take a look at the two terms. Are they exactly the same? If they're exactly the same, yes, you can add them together. Okay. Okay, my bad. 4, yes, 4 is the GCF. All right, Lamb. Lamb, what is your GCF? Make sure you put that outside of a parenthesis. And then also take a look at your variables. Pog, I saw you. You're like, did she ignore me? I'm like, no, I'm not ignoring you. Okay, so put it all together. So that's going to be on the outside, Lamb. What's going to go inside the parentheses? Hey, Michael. All right, Zion, see you. So make sure 8. Can 8 go into the 12 and the 32? Okay. Hello, Andrea. All right. So this is what we have to get down. Okay. So we got our 12 and we have our 32s. So let me show you my little handy dandy trick. All right. So for 12s, I'm not doing that. So for 12s, we have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Okay. For 32, we have 1 and 32, 2 and 6, 4 and 8. Now, what number other than 1 kept repeating? Okay, I'll show it again. So for the 12s, we have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. And for 32, we had 1 and 32, 2 and 16, 4 and 8. What number keeps repeating? Yes, Cookie, how are you? All right, not a problem. All right, so it is going to be 4. Okay, and a lot of you guys said that earlier, so I'm not ignoring you guys. Yes. So that would be your GCF. So we're bringing out that 4. That's for the 12 and the 32. And I know some people were like, we could do 12. Well, remember, 32 is not inside the 12. 36 is, but not 32. Okay? Now, look at your variables. What's repeating? What's repeating with the variables? What do they both of these terms have? Okay, there you go, Maya, Cookie, Gabby. Hey, Gabby, welcome in. Kathy, thank you. All right. It's like Danny Boo, B, good. Gabby Mac, I see you again. There you go, Nicole, good. So my GCF is going to be 4B, okay? So a lot of you guys have that in your answers, which is awesome. But that's not just your answer. We need to put what remains. If we pull out, that 4B. It's just like in almost every mafia movie. I tried to go away. They keep pulling me back in. So we pulling out 4B. So we need to know what's left, and what's left is going to be inside this parenthesis. And the way you do it is you divide the original, both terms, by that 4B. So 12 divided by 4, that gives me 3. There's an A for a variable here, but there isn't an A down there. So we're going to drop the A inside. There is 1B that was out. We pulled out that 1B, so there's no B's left. We have a plus sign. Bring that down. Now 32 divided by 4, that'll give me 8. There was 1B here. We pulled out 1B, so that means there is no B's left. So this are my two factors that I need to get my original expression. Okay. CD, that's what we did. We divide both terms by 4b. Never mind. Okay, I got you. I was like, that's what we did. All right. Okay. What happened to the b? Because if you have b divided by b, that gives you b to the 0 power. B to the 0 power is 1. Okay, so if you already had a b, you take out a b, that's it. No BS left. No b's left. None. Hey, Bree. GCF is the greatest common factor. Okay, so we're doing a little bit of factoring today. So we're pulling out what they have in common. Okay, so if you start off with 1b and you pulled 1b out, there's no b's left. Okay, the trinomial, that's coming, Kim. Will you read my mind? It's a dangerous place. My mind is very dangerous. I should be committed. Okay, so let's try one more and then we're going into our tricks. Okay, so let's step it up. All right, so we have 16x squared y plus 40xy plus 8xy squared. Let me shrink that down a bit so we can see the whole thing. Okay. Hey, Hector, how are you? Wasn't clicking. That's all right. All right. All right. So 16x squared y plus 40xy plus 8xy squared. All right, so for the GCFs, I'm seeing 8xy's, I'm seeing a 4xy. Danny wants to see if I'm right. Not a problem, Hector. Okay, Michael, is this trigger calc? Actually, Michael, this is Algebra 1. Yes. Jonah, how are you? Different equation. Okay. Zippy. Oh, I like that. Zippy Z's mom too. Says 8xy. Are you serious? I am. Don't call me serious. Nah, you're probably too young. You don't know that story, that movie. Okay. Aaliyah saying 8xy. Pog saying 8xy. Differential equations. No, Jonah. Jay saying hello. Hello, Jay. Jay Chase. What's going on? Okay, 8xy are the same way to solve problems. Yes. I was like, Hector, I'm telling you, when you know the basics of math, you can do any level of mathematics whatsoever. I'm telling you, once you get Algebra 1 down, basically, and parts of Algebra 2 that has that little bit of trig in it, done. You just go ahead and go. All right, how would I know if this isn't a trinomial? Okay, well, this is a trinomial. Uno, dos, tres. So here's the thing. The first question, anytime they tell you to factor, hey, Ari, how are you? Every time, yes, okay, all right. Michael, you're with me. Okay, can't get past fractions. Well, stick with me. You'll get past it. Actually, I have a video on it on my YouTube channel because I actually did fractions. All right, here we go. Factoring. The very first question you should always ask yourself is, do I have a GCF? Okay, anytime you're doing factoring, you should always ask yourself that question, do I have a GCF? So then when you look and you're saying, okay, let me look at the numbers. 16, 40, and 8. Yep, I do. And just like you said, 4 works, but 4 isn't the greatest. The greatest is going to be 8. Okay? So right away, when I say I do have a GCF, right away we're doing this. We're breaking it down by GCFs. Now, let's look at our x's. There's an x squared here, there's an x here, and there's an x there. So they all 3 terms have an x in common, okay? Yep, so all 3 terms have an x in common, so we need to pull that one x out, okay? Oh, well, hello, Melissa. Welcome in. I'm doing all right. You're in Algebra 2 Trig? Awesome. Yep, you're going to be doing just fine. All right. Hey, Lynette, how are you? All right, so now let's take a look. We have y, we have y, we have y squared. So all 3 of them have a y in common. All right, so boom. This is my GCF. All right, that's my greatest common factor. So now we want to know what's going to remain, and we're going to collect it and put it in its own parenthesis. Okay, is this factoring? Yes, it is. What is GCF for? What's it for? Like, why am I doing that? Because if we're trying to break down our factors, if you think about it, factoring is just the reverse of the distributive property. So it's almost like, what's that show called? Jeopardy. It's almost like they'll give you an answer and the answer is actually supposed to be in the form of a question. You know, like Mary had, I was like, what is a little lamb? I don't know. I'm reaching here. But that's basically what you're doing. So when you're factoring, you're finding the original numbers or the original products that got you into this main equation. All right. Ghostman, how are you? All right, so we are going to divide each of these 3 terms by that 8xy. So Maya says inside the parentheses should be a 2x, a plus 5, and a y. Do we agree? Okay, Jonas sees the 2x, yes. 2x will go right here because 16 divided by 8 gives me 2. X squared divided by x gives me 1x. And since we have a y and we already factor out one of the y's, there's no y's left. Okay, so a couple people are agreeing with you, Maya. Good job. All right, so we got our plus. 40 divided by 8 gives me 5. And since we already factored out both the x and the y out here, they don't stay inside. Then we have 8 divided by 8 gives me 1. Which is understood. If you put the 1 down, it's not going to kill you. Okay, you'll be fine. But then we pulled out the 1x. There was 2 y's, but we only pulled 1 of them out. So that means 1 remained inside. All right. And since we have like 2 different variables in here, I know inside of this parenthesis, I can't break it down any further because there is something called complete factoring, okay? Where we have to factor everything completely. That means take a moment to look inside the parentheses to see if you can break that bad boy down even further. All right? Okay? All right. All right. So that's basically it. When you're finding your GCF, the first question, anytime they say factor, one thing you should ask yourself, do I have a GCF? If you do have a GCF, factor that bad boy out, see what remains inside the parenthesis. Now, anything that's inside the parenthesis, you might want to double check to see if you can break it down any further. Luckily, in this one, we didn't have anything else to break down any further. Same happened over here. We didn't have anything else, and the same thing happened here. All right. Now, with that, the next thing you should be looking is, do I have 3 terms? Or do I have 4 terms? So tonight we're going to work heavily on the 3 terms. The 3 terms is a trinomial, and this is when you can solve either using the AC method or some people like to do another method I saw, but I don't know what the name of it is, but it might be the same thing. So this is when you have a trinomials, and this is when your first leading coefficient is either equal to A or it's not equal to A, or equal to 1, okay? It's either equal to 1 or not equal to 1. If you have 4 terms, you're going to do it by grouping. Okay? So tonight we're going to work on those 3 terms, those trinomials. Okay? All right, so if you can't use it for the production of something. Oh, Chris, how are you living? Because the internet, that's math. Time, that's math. Conversation, that's math. Making decisions, that's math. Okay? The design of your clothing, that's math. How you got from point A to point B with your vehicle, that's math. How your shoes are designed now for comfort, for speed, for jumps, that's math. Baby, math is everywhere, boo-boo. I build things with math. Yes, you do. Yes, it's all around us. So if you don't use it, it's a waste. That's true. Okay, I think that's how I probably read it wrong. I thought you were just like, oh, this is a waste of time. So I apologize. I don't mean to jump down your throat. Okay, what is the peanut method? The what? The peanut method. Can you do this with the box method? You probably could. Okay. Yep, math is in music. Oh, yes. Especially the sine waves, cosine waves, pitch, distance, everything. Everything we have. But the only thing is, it's so hard for people to decipher because of their experience with math. You know, you have an awful experience. You have one of those teachers that just basically treats you like garbage, and then you're not going to like it. So let's say factoring trinomials. Right now, I'm going to work on when your leading coefficient is equal to 1. So let me unzoom so you can see everything. So we're going to be factoring trinomials when your leading coefficient is equal to 1. All right. So this is what I mean. Example number 1. So if we already have a product of like x squared plus 6x plus 8. Okay. When your leading coefficient, that means the number that's in front of your x squared. If you don't see a number here, that's assumed that that number is a 1. So I need to clarify this because a lot of teachers are saying to their kids, x equals 1. No, it does not. X can represent any number, positive or negative, okay? And even 0, fractions, decimal, it can represent anything. They're talking about the coefficient in front of the x. If you don't see anything, it's assumed to be a 1. That's what they're talking about. So when my leading coefficient, the way I say a leading coefficient is the coefficient with the highest exponent, aka degree. So the one with the highest degree is my leading coefficient. When I see it's a 1, I'm splitting my x's right away. There's whatever the variable is, I'm splitting it. The reason why I'm splitting it, I got 2 of them, x squared. Remember, x squared is the same as saying x times x. So what we need to do, and this is the hardest part, okay? We need to figure out what two numbers, and I think some people do crosses, some people do like a little box set or whatever. I like to do the cross. I don't know why. So we need to know two numbers, okay, through multiplication. Two numbers that multiply to give me 8, and those same two numbers add together to give me 6. Okay. All right, so I'm seeing 4 and 2, 4 and 2. Oh, thank you for the roses, 4 and 2. Mr. Gordon, hello. Thank you for the follow. Yes, 4 and 2. Because 4 times 2 gives me 8, and 4 plus 2 gives me 6. So since both of them are positive, here I go inside here. I'm going to put a plus 4 and then a plus 2. These are the factors of my original expression, not equation, because there's no equal sign. This is an expression of x squared plus 6x plus 8. Okay. How are we feeling? How do you know when to put the 4? Oh, Kathy, since it's multiplication, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You could put plus 2 here and plus 4 there. That's fine. Okay, they're interchangeable. All right. All right. Good, Cookie. Good. Hey, Space Cadet. How are you? Haven't seen you for a minute. Thank you for the roses. Okay. Where did the x by the 6 go? Oh, okay. Well, let me show you. If you want to check it, this is one way you can do it. You can multiply the inside, and you can multiply the outsides. 4 times x gives me 4x. X times 2 gives me 2x. If I add these two bad boys together, it will give me the 6x, which is the same as right here. Okay. So that 6x is a part of this. If I do the distributive property to this, right? If I do the distributive property to this, I will end up getting my original expression. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you're here. All right, so Jay, you're lost. Where are we? I don't know. You can check those like that. Yep, yes you can. Well, thank you for the handwriting. Appreciate it. Okay. Yeah, so let's try another one. Okay, J-Dog, we're going to get this done. We're going to get it done, JJ's. We're going to get it. All right, so let me do here. So let me go x squared. I'll keep it with the plus 7x plus 10. Okay. Oh, well, thank you so much for the gifts. Appreciate it. All right. So, leading coefficient is a 1. Okay, we don't see anything. It's a 1. So right away, I'm going into parenthesis mode. So I put my 2 parentheses, and the variable that I have, I'm going to split it. X and X. So now, this is the toughest part. Because if multiplication is the problem, okay, you're taking your last term, okay, the constant is what goes up here. So we want to know what two numbers multiply will give me the 10 and add to give me 7. I love when I finish writing and it's like right here. Okay, prepping for your Algebra 1. Okay, all right. So we have 2, 5, 5, 2. We got Shaquille, got it all there. Shaquille, I haven't seen you in a minute. How are you? Okay, and you meant the 5. Okay, Cutie is at 2, 5, 2, and 5. Good. All right, so you could say 2 here, 5 here. You could say 5 and then 2. It doesn't matter, okay? Remember, this is going to be multiplication. But both of them are going to be positive. So we got our plus 2, and then we have our plus 5. Okay, that's it. I love when they say factor and my leading coefficient is 1. It just gets me right to my answers so much quicker. All right. All right. After this example, are you going to do examples with negative coefficients? I'm doing stuff. I got you. I'm doing stuff. And we're both, girl, Danny, I got you. Guys, keep your panties on, all right? It's going to happen. All right? There's a whole mixture. I got most of the night. Okay, are all these questions quadratic? Yes, factoring. I'm excited. I know you're excited, but geez, relax. But I'm excited that you're excited. All right, let me stop stomping on your dream. Let me do that. Let me stop doing that. All right, so we got those out of the way. Now, let me get with, all right, let's try this one. All right, I might even change it up from the X. I'll put a W there. Woo, she's getting fancy. So W squared minus 10W plus 25. Okay. You're welcome. I'm trying. It's basically that I'm just trying. I know. Times get hard, and especially this time of year. All right. So, leading coefficient, let's put it inside parentheses. Let's put your answers inside parentheses. I'm loving this. So what are my 2 parentheses? Do you ever find the GCF for factoring trinomials? For these, no. Because if I looked at my original, the only thing that 1, -10, and 25 have in common is 1. So that answer to, do I have a GCF for these will be no. Okay, good question though. Yes, Donald. Perfect squares. All right. So yes, crab feast. Love that. Or fest. Sorry. Kind of scrolling by real quick. All right, good. Yes. So the first question you should always ask yourself, Kathy, is do I have a GCF? But if I got 1, 10, and 25, nope, I don't have a GCF. So now what's my leading coefficient? It's a 1. Beautiful. So that means I'm splitting up these W's. Okay. And then I have to think, what 2 numbers multiplied will give me that constant, which is 25, and add to give me a -10. And like most of you guys said, 5 and 5, but 5 times 5 does give me my 25, but it doesn't help with my -10. And that's when a lot of you guys started switching, which is great. Because now it's all about the signage. Because a negative times a negative gives me a positive. And a negative plus a negative gives me a negative. Remember, when the signs are the same, you add your numbers together. So I have a -5 here and a -5 here. And this is what got me excited, because since both parentheses are exactly the same, you can write this answer with one parenthesis, but you will square it. Okay, depending on what the situation is, both of these answers are acceptable. Okay, both of them are acceptable. Okay. How we're feeling. Okay. Okay, not a problem. Trust me, there's more, Danny. Would it be completely factored? Yes. Yes. Because inside this parenthesis, I can't do anything. All I got is W minus 5. Okay? You'll see when it comes to completing the square, if you still, inside the parenthesis, you still have, like, say, a variable squared, that's telling you that I need to factor it some more. Okay? I think I'm going to have time for it to be done. All right? So, let's try. I'm over here trying to pick a color. Let's try this one. So we have our a squared minus a minus 30. For all my negative fans out there. Okay, a squared minus a minus 30. Okay, tell me what my factors are. Okay, put them inside parentheses. Put them inside parentheses. Okay, so I have two answers here. I have a 15 and 2. Okay, Cyrus might want to take a look, because it's got to be two numbers multiplied to give us a negative 30 and add to give us a negative 1. Yes. Just go ahead and make your adjustments. Nicole, it's not going to be 1 in 30. All right, Scylla. Okay. Negative 6 and 5. Okay. All right. All right. So through multiplication, let's revisit real quick, because I'm getting some 30s and 1s, I'm getting some 15s and 1s, but I'm also getting 6 and 5s. Okay, and I'll talk about the signs. All right, let's think of the multiplication of 30, negative 30. All right, so let's go back to 30. Oops. All right, so when we come into 30, we have 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, and 5 and 6. Okay, so we're looking for something when I multiply to give me 30, a negative 30, that means one of my numbers have to be negative. that's going to give me a -1. So basically, I'm looking at subtracting these numbers. So if I subtract these groups, which one is going to give me a 1 for an answer? Well, 30 minus 1, that's going to give me 29, right? 15 minus 2, that's going to give me, yeah, you get the idea. So it's got to be 6 and 5. So 6 minus 5 will give me 1. But we're looking for a -1. So we know that the answer is going to be 6 and 5. But now we have to decide which one is going to get the negative. So if I give it to the 5, it's going to give me a +1. But we're looking for a -1. So we have to give the negative to the 6. So if you want to write a minus 6 and then a plus 5, you can do that. If you want to say a plus 5 and then a minus 6, you can do that as well. Okay? All right. Does that make it clear? Now, Hensters, here's the thing. This kind of is AC method. This is basically AC method. The only thing I'm not doing is writing out the A, the B, and the C. Because at this time, since my leading coefficient is 1, when you multiply your A and your C, you're just going to get this answer. You're just going to get the -3. You're just going to get the 25. You're just going to get the 10. So you're like skipping a step to really get to your answer. Now, these are some skills that I like to use, especially if you're taking any kind of state assessment. You know, state assessments are coming up or they're now. If it's not state assessments, it's SAT, ACT, GED, ACCUPLACER, ASVAB, anything that's blessedly timed. This will help save you a little bit of time, okay, and attention to it. It's so much easier to see, especially with the negative signs. Okay, good, good. Because I'm very visual. I need this vision, okay? Because this basically is the AC method. All right, so let me do one more, actually a couple more. Let's do this one. Okay. B squared plus 7b minus 18. What is this called again? What is it called again? This one, factoring trinomials. I know, there's so many ways, Kathy. I know. I don't know if I'm going to say I'm lazy. No, I'm lazy. Let me not try to lie. I just like to make things simplistic. And I know. Mario? Did you hear it? Yeah, I'm lazy. All right. Yes, simple. Right. And especially when you're using it to take a test, and majority of the time you're taking this math class and you're like, dude, all I want to do is open up my own daycare. Like, am I doing algebra so I can work in a daycare? Like, no. So that's where I just, I take that to heart. Okay. You got... All right, so here we go. So I'm seeing -2s and 9s. I'm seeing -9s and 2s. Okay, so we got a little battle right here. But the main fact, our leading coefficient is 1. So right away, we're putting our parentheses down. We're splitting our b's. Okay, so we're good with that. Now, Let's think this through. So we have a negative 18 and we have a positive 7. So we want to know what's going to multiply to give me negative 18 and add to get to 7. Okay, let me zoom a little less so we can put it all in here. Okay, so multiples for 18. So you can list them out. Some people like to do that. I'm going to try to turn a page like don't need a college degree to do that. All right. So multiples for 18, we have 1 and 18, 2 and 9, and 3 and 6. And we're looking for something that's going to give me a 7 because it's a negative 18. That means we're dealing with subtraction. So obviously, if I subtract the 1 and 18, definitely not. If I subtract the 9 and 2, yes. So I know that 9 and 2 is going to work for me. So I got my 9 and I got my 2. So I need to know which one is going to be negative. That's going to add together. That's going to give me this positive 7. Okay, I know through multiplication, one of my numbers have to be negative, but which one is going to give me, when I add them together, a positive 7? All right, there you go, Space Cadet. I see that. The Ultimate Emu, yes, I see that. Okay, Scylla, I see that. Good. Okay, not the 9, because negative 9 plus 2 gives me a negative 7. Because when you're opposite signs, you're basically subtracting. But if you give the largest number, so think of it this way. You owe me $9 if that's the case. If you owe me $9 and you paid me 2, that means you owe me $7. It doesn't mean that you paid me $7. Oh, no. So that means if you had $9 and you spent 2, that means you have $7 left in the bonus. Okay, good. All right, so the 2 is going to be the one that's going to be negative. So now, since my 9 is positive, I put plus 9. And this is negative, so that'll be a minus 2. Oh, here we go with this live thing again. Hold on. Got to hold that page down. One moment. All right, there we go. Gotta be so precise with that little puzzle piece. It's just so crazy. Okay, any questions? Okay. So when we play around, when they're both positive, it's easy for us to figure it out, okay? When the C is positive, but the middle number, the B, is negative, that means your answer, both are going to be negative. If both the C and the B is negative, that means one of them is going to be negative. And if your C is negative and your B is positive, that means one of them is going to be negative, but we got to make sure we get the right one. Okay. Okay, do you need to find the zeros? You only find the zeros if it's equals. That's when it's an equation. Right now, we're just dealing with the expressions. But you're thinking, which is awesome. Love that. Okay, so if you see an equal sign, yes, every time it's a quadratic, it should equal 0. Okay, but you're thinking, which is awesome. Love that. Alrighty then. Let's see if I can do one more like this. And then we're done with this part. Of course, there's more parts, guys. Like, this ain't it. Factoring is like a mini series, but I don't want to overload the brain. I just want us to kind of get at least grouping and trinomials under wraps. Okay, give this one a try. Y squared minus 3y plus 2. Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. So y squared minus 3y plus 2. Okay. So I got ultimate emu and Scylla with -2, -1s. Do we agree? If you want to show grouping, should you do one with an A term other than 1? You can, but I'm not sure if I'm going to hit grouping tonight. I'm going to see. I'm going to try to do when A is not 1 as a trinomial. And then I have to show, maybe I might show both ways. Because I think that's what you're thinking of. All right, people, let's see your answers. Let's see them. Let's see them. And remember, question marks is an answer as well. If you're just like, yeah, Audrey, I have no idea. Like, you had me, I was there with you, you know, we were going on a trip, and then, yeah, I felt like swimming in the ocean. I don't know, I just jumped off the boat, okay? Is that Edu, the poet? Edu? Edu? Hello, Cam. All right, so I'm seeing some -2s, -1s. Okay. Well, welcome in, Edu. All right. So, leading coefficient is 1. So we got our y, But then we'll multiply our last term, which is 2. Our middle term, which is a -3. So what two numbers multiply will give me a 2 and add to give me a -3? Am I doing completing the square? Not tonight. Yes, definitely not tonight. But I can. It's going to be basically next week. I'm just going to be factoring for the rest of this coming week. Okay. I might throw something with ellipse in there because I think someone else wanted to do ellipse. Yes. Hey, Kaylee. Yes. Freya. Yes. All right. So if I do 2 times 1, that will work. But we need a -3. So that means both the 2 and the 1 needs to be negative. So we have y minus 2. Or y minus 1. If you want to switch them around, say y minus 1, parenthesis y minus 2, you can say that as well. Okay? We don't have to be robots. That works just as fine. Okay? Hey, Tamlin. What are we doing? All right. So, that's factoring trinomials when your leading coefficient is 1. Okay, we had fun with that. That was beautiful. We're still rocking and rolling. What level math do I personally go up to? I go up to pre-calculus, not AP pre-calculus. That is just the form of the devil. I just want, like, pre-calculus is my thing, but I help students on college level doing intermediate algebra. 1, 2, and 3, and college algebra as well. Yes. There was both negative. Yes, because a negative times a negative gives me a positive, and a negative plus a negative keeps it at negative. Okay? All right. Okay, so let me flip over, get myself ready. If you guys can keep tapping, if we can get to about like 10, that would be awesome. I appreciate you guys staying here, especially on a Friday night. Like, what? But this is fun. It's fun that we're all here. And today is the what? Look at my dates all kinds of mixed up. 26. What happened to April? My goodness. I feel like ever since I left the classroom, like my days go so much faster than anything else. All right. So when we're dealing with this, thank you so much for that. It's Saturday. I know. Yes. Okay. If anyone don't know, you can watch TikTok on your computer. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, Monday's your birthday, Cookie. I suck at remember people's birthdays. So if you come on Monday evening and I don't, hopefully you're out partying. Well, keeping it safe. Please remind me. I like to celebrate people's birthdays. All right, so we're going to do what's called the AC method. We basically was doing it, but I wasn't promoting it as such because I tried to keep things simple. All right, now with the AC method, first we're going to list out what our A, what our B, and what our C is. Okay, and that's all going to be based on our standard form. You ever heard the standard form? So we have ax squared plus bx plus c. So a, b, and c, they're representing the numbers, or a and b is representing the coefficients in front of the x squared and the x, and the c is representing our constant. But when we do our cross, just like we were doing before, this time we're going to multiply our A and our C. And down below, we're going to do what we've done before. Just bring down the middle term, which is our B. Okay, that's the only thing that I'm tweaking right now. Well, not tweaking that way, but you know what I'm saying. Right? That's the only thing I'm doing. Oh, there she is. None of the biz. How are you? All right, so now I'm going to walk you through step by step. If you want to just watch and then we start doing, that's fine. I'll give you time to copy and to do all of that fun stuff. All right, so let me use this example here. So, oops, sorry. So we have 2x squared plus 11x plus 5. Okay, so 2x squared, and I'm going to show you this in two ways, and you get to pick which way best suits you.
It's good to have a plan. Some
It
people
is good to have a plan.
minute. No sleep, bus, museum, another museum, while others only plan to take it day by day. When it comes to your finances, a plan is just...
You gotta love it. So, yeah. All right. So now, what we're going to do is first we're going to list out our A, our B, and our C. Our A is always the coefficient of the x squared, which will be 2. Our B is always the coefficient of the x, which is 11. And our c is our constant, which is 5. Okay? So now, we want to get our cross. And what we're going to do is we're going to multiply the a and the c. So before, we didn't have to do this step because my a was a 1. And 1 times a number is itself. But since we have a number, and it wouldn't matter if that number is positive or negative. That's the one thing I like about the AC method. So you have 2 times 5. That gives me 10. And then down here, we're going to write our b. Our b is the 11, just like what we did before. So now we need to think, what two numbers multiply? Because AC means A times C. What two numbers multiply will give me 10 and add together to give me 11? This is actually a book that I designed. If you want, you can click on my profile, go to my website, ACG Math Tutoring. There's a link, and it's called Ultimate Math Notebook. Click on that. I'm selling it through Amazon, but I'm currently in the process of doing self-publishing. So I never knew this process was so all over the place, but here we are. So you can definitely get the book on Amazon. Yes. Because I don't know about teachers pay teachers. I like selling my books as whole. All right. So now we're trying to think, and most of you guys got it. So if I'm thinking of two numbers multiplied to give me 10, so let me go find 10. Okay, here's 10. I got 1 and 10 and 2 and 5. 1 plus 10 gives me the 11, and that's what we're looking for. So that means you got a 1 here and a 10 here. All right. Now, this is what's going to be different. Some teachers will have you rewrite this equation and replace this middle term of 11x with your 1 and 10 and put x's next to them and do it by grouping. Pause. The true AC method takes the first number, your a, and the coefficient, and makes two ratios, aka fractions. So I'm going to take my a and I'm going to write it twice. I'm going to take the variable and I'm going to write it twice. The reason why I'm writing it twice is because of my exponent. Okay, I need two parentheses. Each of these fractions is going to represent a parenthesis. Now, the two numbers that we found, that 1 and 10, one's going to go underneath one ratio and the other one's going to be the denominator of the other. So I'm going to put a 1 here and a 10 here. So when we look at our ratios, which one needs to be reduced? The first one or the second one? Okay. Oh, you're welcome. Okay. Dos, the second one. Yes. All these bilingual people, I love it. Okay. So 2/10, good. 2/10 can be reduced by 2. So 2 divided by 2, that gives me a 1. And 10 divided by 2 gives me a 5. So we basically have our answer right before us. This first ratio is going to be my first parenthesis. The answer for that is 2x plus 1. The second ratio is going to be my second parenthesis, which is 1x, or just x, plus 5. And this is your factor. How do you know to go by 2's? Well, 2 and 10, they're both even numbers. So since they're both even numbers, we're going to divide the numerator by 2 and divide this denominator by 2. Okay. With writing, sure, I can do that. Okay. And does this work with every AC method? Yes, it does, Kim. Yes, it does. All right. So remember, I was going to do it anyway. I said there's 2 ways of doing this. Now, how we did this part, this beginning part right here, okay, that's going to be the same no matter which way. I'm just going to change it up for this part. Instead of fractions, let's replace that middle term with the 2 factors that we found. So it's going to look like this. We have our 2x squared plus, putting in the 2 factors, this will be a 1x plus a 10x. And then it ends with plus 5. So all we did was we replaced this 11x with the 1x and the 10x, because 1x plus 10x gives me 11x. Okay, so you found factors that we have to break down. Now, this is when grouping comes into play. How I know I do grouping? Because I have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. Okay, anytime I have 4 terms, I'm going to do grouping. So this is what I mean by grouping. You are actually going to group the first 2 terms together, and you're going to group the last 2 terms together. So let's just focus on that first term. Okay, I'm going to cover this up for a second so we can just focus on it. In this first parenthesis, what is my GCF? You see how it goes right back into GCF again? See? It never goes. It never goes away. Like math, constantly, you learn something new, then you spiral back to something old. So learn something new to spiral back into something old. Okay? So what they have in common? Good, Kathy. Okay. We have not 2x, because 1 and 2, the only thing they have in common through multiplication is 1. But there's an x squared here, and there's an x. So we can factor out an x. So when we factor out the x, that means we're basically dividing everything in this first, that 2x squared plus 1x. So I have 2 x's, I pulled 1x out. That means I have 2x there. Plus, okay, 1 divided by 1 gives me 1. X divided by x will also give me 1, so 1 times 1 gives me 1. So that would take care of the first parenthesis. Now, I'm going to slide over here, and I'm going to look at the second parenthesis. So with the second parenthesis, since my leading coefficient inside this parenthesis is a plus, I'm going to bring down the plus sign. But what does 10 and 5 have in common? Good. So I'm going to pull out a 5. I love after I make a question, all of a sudden the answer is like right in front of me. Love it. Okay, no problem. So now divide the original, which is 10x plus 5, divide each of them by 5. So 10x divided by 5, that gives me 2x. And 5 divided by 5 gives me 1. Okay, so we have 2x plus 1. Good, Kim. Good. How's everybody doing so far? All right. So now, let me take this away. And this line only. Okay, doing good. Good, Kathy. What do you notice for the last line? What do you guys see? We keep practicing. Okay, not a problem. Similarities, like terms with confidence, of course. Like Space Cadet, come on, babes. Seriously, we have to really understand that when you were born, you didn't just start walking, talking, riding a bike, right? It took like a couple of weeks for you to figure out, oh my God, that's a thumb, right? So give yourself some grace, okay? Give yourself some grace. Yes. So inside the parentheses is exactly the same. That is your GCF of that new line. So if I want, I can write it out. I'm like running out of colors. Here we go. I can write it out as 2x plus 1 because that's my GCF of that line. And then what remained is x plus 5. And you're saying, well, where's that x plus 5 coming from, Audrey? The numbers that are outside the parenthesis. You give them their own parenthesis. And then the two parentheses are exactly the same. You just give them their one. And this is your answer. Notice, let me unshrink just a hair. Okay, more than a hair. Notice two answers exactly the same. All right, you're going to get the exact same answer. So if you're okay with fractions, go with the true AC method. If you're not okay with fractions and you feel like, you know what, I like this grouping thing, then do the grouping thing. Okay? You got multiple ways. But no matter what, this part right here, I think you can see it, this part right here, that is exactly the same as what we did in the other way, okay? For us to get the factors, that's going to be exactly the same, regardless if your leading coefficient is 1 or it's not 1. Okay? How are we feeling? All right. Okay, let's get a couple more. I have about 4 problems total that I was going to show. So we got 3 more. You got here late. That's all right. That's all right. Okay, but guess what? We're about to start a new problem. I can walk you through it. No worries. Okay, as long as you're ready to rock and roll. Okay, let's do it. All right, so let's go with, okay, let's get away from the 2's for a minute. Let's get with this one. And let's do 3n squared plus 4n plus 1. Okay. I'm going to try my hardest to leave the previous one up so you can use that as an example. I'm going to try my hardest. Okay. All right. First thing we need to do, tell me what my A is, what my B is, and what my C is. Okay. So my A is always the coefficient in front of the n squared. So my A is going to be 3. My B is always the coefficient in front of the n, or whatever the variable is. without an exponent or an exponent of 1. And my c is always going to be the constant, the one that doesn't have a variable next to it. Okay, good. So now, going right into the cross. And what's going to go up here in this section is we're going to multiply your A and your C and put the answer in this top section. And then we're going to rewrite the B and put in this bottom section. So A times C, that means 3 times 1, that gives me a positive 3. My B is a positive 4. Okay, good. And your B equals 4. Good. Nice. All right. So Pog is telling me 1 and 3. Do we agree? Because we need what two numbers multiplied together will give me 3 and add together to give me 4. Yes, good. All right, so we got a 1 and a 3. Because 1 times 3 gives me 3. 1 plus 3 gives me 4. Okay. Is it Valeria? Is that how you pronounce your name? Are you okay with this? All right. Okay, Addison's right there with me. All right. Yes, okay. All right. Now, this is where I'm going to have to ask you. I'm probably going to do it both ways. If you like fractions, or you're okay with it, it's like, yeah, I like this guy, but he's a pain in the butt, but I like him, right? That's how you feel about fractions. So if you're that way about fractions, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to show you both ways. We set up a ratio, set up 2 ratios, because we have my highest degree of 2. We're going to write the A and the variable as the numerators for both of the ratios. So it'll be 3n and 3n. Then the numbers that we got, the factors that we got, they're going to be the denominators of those 2 ratios. So that means this is going to be a 1 and this is going to be a 3. Now, it's possible that you need to reduce both of the ratios. But in this case, this first one is pretty good. This one needs to be reduced. There you go, Space Cadet. There you go. All right. So if we need to reduce it, it will give me what? There it is. 3 divided by 3 will give me 1. And 3 divided by 3 will give me 1. Okay. These 2 ratios are my 2 parentheses. The first parenthesis is 3n plus 1. And the second parenthesis is, with us reducing it, it'll be 1n, or just n. And it's a positive 1, you put plus 1. Okay. Now, for those that do not like fractions, you're like, there's no way you can, no matter what you do to the Brussels sprouts, I am not eating them. Okay, if that sounds more like you, what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite our original equation. I'm going to write the word or. Okay, rewrite the original equation, so that will be 3n squared But instead of the 4n, we're going to replace it with the two factors that we found. So that will be plus 1n plus 3n. And then bring down that plus 1. So now that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms, we're going to group the first two, then group the last two. Okay, you guys are still with me? Okay, don't get nervous. It's okay. All right, so I'm gonna cover up this second parenthesis so we could just focus on the first. So now we have 3n squared plus 1n. What do they have in common? 3 and 1 only has a 1 in common, so we don't have to worry about that. But they have a 1n in common. So if I'm factoring out an n, what's going to remain is 3n, okay, because we have two n's here. We take one out, there's one n left. Bring down the plus sign. 1n divided by n, that will give me 1. Good. Nice. All right. If I switch to the other one, so it starts off with a plus sign, so I'm going to put plus. Now, 3n plus 1. What would be the GCF for this part? What does 3 and 1 have in common? What does 3n plus 1, what do they have in common? There you go, 1. So 1, yes. So they do have something, there's always going to be a 1. Okay? So I'm going to pull out a 1. So that basically in here, we're writing exactly the same thing. 3n plus 1. So now I'm looking at this line here. So we're taking what was outside of the parenthesis. You can make them their own parenthesis. And then I noticed that inside the parenthesis, they're exactly the same. So that will give me 3n plus 1. If you wrote 3n plus 1 and then times n plus 1, that's fine as well. Okay, they're interchangeable. They can go either way. So here's the key with grouping. See, we didn't even have to do anything. So if anything, I'm going to write the word grouping here. Okay, so this is grouping. So with the grouping, inside the parentheses should always be exactly the same, like down to the sign. If they're not exactly the same, that means you might have to pull out the sign. You might have to pull out a negative out here and then maybe do the division so you can get the right signage. Okay, but the parentheses should always look exactly the same when you're doing grouping. And then guess what? You get the same exact answer. Okay, either you do it with the fraction or you do it by grouping. Okay, so you have choices, guys. I know sometimes there's some teachers that are like, I invented math and I want you to do it like this. Like, dude, no, you didn't invent math. Nice try. That was cute. Don't say that. But at the same time, like, certain people, I've had teachers from my tutoring clients, they'll say, I want it done this way. And I'm like, all right, well, then give me copies of your notes so I can break it down to them, because you don't have time to break it down. Like, I do it in class. I'm like, obviously, they're still confused. So I try to take into account that everyone learns different. So I try to keep it simple, but also show you what the two ways look like. And then you make the executive decision of which way you want to learn it or how you want to answer it. Okay? All right. Questions. Hey, blessed RN. All right. Yes, factoring. Oh, yes. Yes, I always add you to my list at the end of like who to follow. So I might as well put this little plug up here right now. So if anyone, I mean, she's here. So if anyone is thinking about going into nursing and you need help with the TEAS test, a blessed RN is awesome. She's got this this amazing way of doing dosage calculations. So I would definitely follow her. Also, if you're thinking more of the TEAS, ASVAB, GED math, you can also go to my friend Evelyn over at Impact Math. I think she's like Miss Taylor, Impact Math 19. She's on usually Monday through Thursday and on Saturdays. Last time I checked. So double check, get the notifications from her. If you have a chemistry tutor that you need one, Professor TK, she's amazing. She usually comes on live at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and there's a couple evening hours she comes on. But also my friend Lynette, I'm not sure if she's still here. If you want to learn how to add, subtract, multiply, divide using the abacus, let's go. Okay? Make sure you reach out to her. She is mainstreaming using the abacus, and she has a lot of her midnight shows, and she's always online. So definitely check these guys out. Go ahead, do a quick screenshot of that, put that in your arsenal, meet up with these people, and they're amazing. If I also met with another person with ASVAB, or I saw him, but he hasn't responded back to me. So we'll see how he's doing. And if he's like legit, then I'll add him to my list. So for people that are trying to get a great score on the ASVAB, yes, I can help. But remember, I only go live like once a day. So if you have more people, can give you more support. Okay? The more people you can get, the more support. And that's exactly what I want you to have. Okay? All right. Thanks, Pog. Okay, you can break down the fraction one. Yes, I did break down the fraction one. Am I a little late with this? Okay. Because originally the fraction was 3n over 3n, and we broke it down to 1 and 1. So that's how we got our 1n or n plus 1. Okay. All right. Hey, not a problem. I still got 2 more problems. So, and this is going to be ones that you guys are going to try. All right. And then we are officially done. I know you're half asleep, but so am I. I got to download all this and put it on my YouTube channel. So here we are. All right. So it's going to be up to you if you want to do both, but we're definitely doing this one. Okay. We have to do one yourself. We want you to feel accomplished before you leave out of here and ready to rock and roll. Okay? Okay. So you're telling me my A, my B, and my C. Okay, so I'm going to give you, I want to say a good 2.5 minutes, because that's roughly what you would get. Well, testing you will get like 2 minutes and 15 seconds at the most per question. Okay. Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoy it, Hector. Please don't be a stranger. Do you do any ASVAB study section? I do. I do have like private tutoring I do, and I also have a course to help out. So, but most of the stuff that I have been showing is also on the ASVAB. I try to like put out as much as the algebra piece to it as much as possible. So just let me know if you want to do more of like private tutoring. Perfectly fine with that. If you want to talk more, just go ahead and DM me. Or if you go to my profile, go to my website and just fill out the contact form so I could be like, oh, okay, I remember. Because it's that time of year. It's going to get a little crazy. But I will definitely make time. And so we can figure out a plan of when you're going to take the test. Or how much time do we have so we can get to some of the shortcuts. Okay. All right. Okay, good. The lonely. There you go. On Wednesday. Okay. Let's chat soon. Let's chat soon. Is this your first time taking it, or have you taken it before and they gave you what you need to study on? You've been studying on your own? Okay. Okay. Let me know so I know what your schedule is so we can chit chat more. Okay? Okay, just so we can chit chat more. Because I'm tutoring a young man right now. That's taking the ASVAB, and of course they moved his test for the next 2 weeks. Okay. All right. Yeah, definitely message me. Okay. I'm going to be looking for your message as soon as I'm done this. Okay? So I can message you back. Okay. I'm going to want my final answers. Sorry, I was talking over that. About like a minute and a half. Let's say a minute. I'm going to want final answers. Keep going. Okay. Go ahead and post your official answers. If you need more time, I will wait another minute and a half before I put my 2 cents in. So what would be my 2 parentheses? What would be my 2 factors? Okay, I'm seeing 3 and 10s, 15 and 2s, 5 and 10s. Honey, welcome in. 201 SCJ, 15 and 2, welcome in. Okay. So Space Cadet, can they be reduced? Can they be reduced? Okay, last redhead has 10 and 3. Okay. So I think we all got this part. 15, our 13, and our 2. We know 15 and 2 gives me 30. And my B was 13. So I saw a lot of people with 10 and 3, which is correct. Okay. What are those two parentheses? What are my factors? Two things I'm going to multiply to get 15x squared plus 13x plus 2. Ooh. All right, Space Cadet, I'm seeing you. But that 5, remember, it still has to be a fraction. What will be the denominator of the whole number 5? What would be the denominator? Oh, Tiffany. Bushy T. Okay. That's a new one. All right, there you go. Good, Space Cadet. All right. Here we are. Okay, good. So now, let's put it all together. Got all this greatness, just oozing with all this greatness. Okay? So from here, if I do the fraction form, so if I do it with the fractions, I'm going to write down my A with the variable that we're using. And the two numbers that we found to be the factors, we're going to put underneath as my denominator. So now, let's see if I can reduce. 15 and 10, they both have 5 in common. So I'm going to divide both of those by 5. So that means this 15 is going to be a 3. And this 10 is going to be a 2. So now on the other side, we have 15 and 3, and what they have in common is 3. So 3 divided by 3 will give me a 1, and then 15 divided by 3 will give me a 5. So now we just have to finish it out. Okay, this is going to be my first parenthesis. So you have 3x plus 2. This is going to be my second parenthesis. So then you have 5x plus 1. These are your factors. Now, if you wanted to do with the grouping, okay, not a problem. So I'm going to write the word or. So when you do these on a test, please don't do both terms. Just pick one which suits you. Okay, so we have our 15x squared. But instead of that 13, let me do it in this color. We're going to put our plus 10x plus 3x. So the two numbers that we found is going to replace the 13. Then we have our plus 2. So from here, we're going to group. Group the first two, group the last two. And I don't know where my little piece of paper went. Oh, here it is. Okay, so if I focus on the first one, 15x squared plus 10x, what they both have in common is a 5x. So that means inside this parenthesis will be 3x plus 2. So then, if I go to the other parenthesis, it's positive. But 3x and 2, the only thing they have in common is 1. So now I have 3x plus 2. So if you notice, inside the parentheses are exactly the same numbers, same signs. So I can take what's outside the parenthesis, place them in their own parentheses, so 5x plus 1. And then the same parenthesis, just write that once, 3x plus 2. Okay? And as you notice, you get the same answer either way. Okay? Okay. So once you get this broken down at this point, whatever's inside the parentheses, you think of it as your GCF, like you're doing the GCF like a couple times. So then that will go into one parenthesis. Anything outside the parenthesis, that will merge into its own parenthesis. Now, if you're thinking about the fractions, oops. Make that a little bit bigger. If you're talking about the fractions, this first fraction is going to be your first parenthesis. Always start with the numerator, then the denominator. So you'll have your 3x, and since it's a positive 2, you put plus 2. Over here, we simplified and we got a 3 and a 1. So, a 5 and a 1. So it's a positive 5, so that's 5x, and since it's a positive 1, it's plus 1. And that's how you write your answer. Okay. Does that make sense, Space Cadet? All right. Then grouping. Yes. That's why I know. So like, this is the true version of AC method. And then because I guess a lot of students don't do well with fractions, but ignoring it doesn't help. But again, you have options. You have choices. Okay, you definitely have choices. But the key thing is you have to know your multiplication. That is going to be the hardest part. Okay, you're going to have to know your multiplication. All right. Okay, is your brain completely mooshed? You know, we've been going for about close to 2 hours now. Okay. All right. So this is what we're going to do. So we are going to do tomorrow, same time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. We're going to find the difference of squares. If we do need to come back to when my a is not equal to 1, we can do that. And we'll do a little bit more with grouping. And completing. like factor it completely. So we're going to do that tomorrow. Okay. All right. Questions? Is that part of factoring? Oh yeah. Factoring is it's when it comes to algebra 1, factoring is, I can't even speak, is probably the longest unit out there. Because you have your GCF, you have factoring by trinomials, you have factoring by grouping, then you have factoring completely, then you have the quadratic formula, and then you have completing the square. Yeah, there's more. There's a lot more. If there was more to it, but I don't think I had service. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's more to it. So right now we're just going to be doing that. All right. Keep sharing my life. That's crazy. All right. Thank you. But I'm about to go off. Not like I'm about to go off, but, I'm about to leave. All right. So, again, if you like the setup of my math notebook, okay, this is what we got here. Tons of math notes. You can take worksheets and cut them up, put them in, tape them into your books, keep everything nice and neat. You have the formula section, and you also have the steps section to kind of help you really quickly, especially if you have like open notes quizzes or anything like that. And then as well, and you saw bits and pieces of it, was the factor chart. So the factor chart goes from 1 all the way up to 200. Okay, so this will help you break down radicals. It will help you with your factoring. It will help you with your multiplication. Okay, it will show you the yellow is your prime numbers, the blue is your perfect square roots or perfect square numbers. Also, we have like references. What are the most used words in word problems? So we can translate it verbally to algebraically. Also, you have your rules of integers. So addition with examples, subtraction with examples, and multiplication and division. Then you also have your linear equations. Hey, we talked about this one today, the standard form, but we also talked about the standard form doing quadratics, okay? So, and we are going to dive into quadratic forms and some other forms of equations. The properties of exponents, we talked about this one. Anything raised to 0 power will give us 1. And then when we're dividing, we subtract our exponents. Also, you got the order of operations. Then you have your volume, your surface area, area of a circle, area of a sector, arc length is all in there. Also, Pythagorean theorem. I know, all this, right? Sine, cosine, and tangent. For my advanced pre-calc kids or trig kids, you got the trig identities and the sine rules and the cosine rule, and summed up with the unit circle. So you have all this stuff to support you, as well as give you a little section with some brain breaks. But mostly you're going to get like 100 pages of the dot grid on one side and then the traditional grid on the other side. I have there's 3 covers, but I only have the 2 because I'm waiting for my 3rd cover to come in. So these are the 2 covers, but again, it gives you the same stuff. So like if a teacher says, hey, I want you to put this paper in your notes, okay, you can tape the paper on one side, make an interactive notebook, and then summarize what's on that paper on the other side, because the way that you study math is through practice. All right, good night, Kathy. It was so nice meeting you. No problem, Cookie's ready to support you. So if you're interested in these, that's fine. If you need one-to-one tutoring, I'm available. But then again, the main thing I really would love for you guys to do is to subscribe to the YouTube channel. All my replays of my lives, I go live like once a day. All my replays are on my YouTube channel, because I don't know what's happened with TikTok. I'm going to ride this train until it falls off, all right? So if you go type in Audrey Codner or Audrey Codner ACG Math Tutoring, you're going to find my ACG Math Tutoring one. Okay, that's the one that has the most. But I would love to get those numbers up, and I could still support you. Alrighty? All right. So good night. Yes, definitely talk to me soon. I want to see what we can do, at least to kind of tweak your thinking with some things so we can have you go in less stressed for that test. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for coming in. I greatly appreciate it. Hey, 60 strong. 61 people in here. That's amazing. You know, from like starting off with 300 and some odd for a Saturday night. Trust me, that's perfectly fine. So I will definitely see you guys 8:30 tomorrow evening. We're going to take basically the rest of next week. All we're doing is nothing but factoring. Okay? Nothing but factoring. Alrighty. Yes, dream of math problems. Gail, you wake up in a cold sweat. Like, I was chased by a two. I was chased by a two. You have no idea what's going on. All right. So take care, guys. Let me take my crazy butt home. All right. Have a good night, guys. Thank you so much for the support. I'll see you tomorrow night at 8:30. Bye.